Back again for another video. On today's topic, we will be talking about truth and the consequences of not accepting truth. We will also be talking about, of course, female nature and how this plays out in truth. So, geez, these cars, everybody's got a rocket ship these days. Fix your damn muffler. But anyways, so where do I start? Nature. Nature is chaotic by nature, but it is also balanced because it has to be. Without balance, things cease to exist. Meaning that if I look at nature like a spinny top, while you spin the top, it's chaotic in its direction. But in order to remain spinning, it must have balance. You can't predict which direction a spinny top will go in. You can't predict how long it will spin or not. You can't predict any of those things. You can try to calculate it all you want, but you'll be off by a very good margin of degree. Nonetheless, when you try to put it in a sense where you can predict things, then you find out. The one thing that you can be certain of is that it is spinning because it is balanced. Like I said, this is how nature operates. When you are faced with the truth, it pretty much works the same way. Now, people would say truth is empirical. It is. That is the spin. But the direction of truth is chaotic. The reason why it's chaotic because it's unpredictable what will become true. You don't know what the future holds. For instance, let's say someone's death. We know that it's going to happen eventually, but nobody knows exactly when. That is the balance that is struck between chaos and order. You are given some measure of what truth is, but you can't predict where it will land. Most times. Sure, we operate on a very empirical system when it comes to a lot of things in this world, but there's always a margin of imperfection, meaning that we cannot perfectly and certainly know anything, because truth always has a direction that we cannot predict. Where am I going with this? Here's the thing that you should understand about truth. The further you are away from it, the more you're going to suffer. The reason why is because when that unpredictability shift happens, the closer you are to truth, the less you'll become a casualty to it. The further you are away from truth, the more you'll become a casualty to it. There are many ways to explain how this looks. For instance, one not accepting their place in this world, where they belong, who they are. We see this all the time. We label it as a psychotic break, but it's simply someone who has come to terms with something that they have been cognitively dissonant about for most of their life. And then they came to the realization that this is a truth that they cannot escape. And they lose their minds. I'll give you another example. When someone tries to believe they are something that they are not. For instance, let's say that we have a man who believes that he should be a woman. While I have nothing against anyone's choices, I'm simply here to tell you what the truth of these things are. We've seen many cases where there have been young boys, young men, or even older men who have decided to go through a sex change. And what subsequently happened is when they realized that this isn't where they're supposed to be, they had made an irreversible choice, and now that it's driving them to self-destruction. This happens also with women naturally and men with naturally in the choices that they make as individuals. Once again, this topic is about the truth and how it plays out with female nature in regards to nature itself, chaos, and order. When a person is situated in any circumstance, no matter what the circumstances is, you can be at a job where you're in a position that you should not have. You could be at the head of a group that you don't have a good leadership for. It can be anything. If you're somewhere that you're not supposed to be, that truth will catch up to you. But here's the thing that people don't account for. I've said in earlier videos that instant gratification involves that you disregard any consequences that come as a result of instant gratification, that come as a result of not accounting for what the end results would be because of what you got up front. The difference in this is that when you have a certain level of instant gratification, there is a certain level of recoil that comes with that every single time. Now, some of these recoils people can take, but a lot of these recoils people cannot. If you look at the Black community, what condition is it in? How do we get there? Well, there are many people who postulate on exactly how we got there. But one thing is for certain, it all started with instant gratification. We'll give you this up front. Don't worry about the consequences. Here, take your power up front. Don't worry about the consequences. Now we see what the consequences are. Maybe it took 40, 50 years. That's the thing about truths. There are many of them. And at every different level of truth, there is a different level of consequence for not accepting that truth. So something that could have happened 40 years ago may just now be playing out in its consequential form. Something may happen 10 years ago, may just now be playing out in its consequential form. No one can predict these things. No one can predict when the piper will come for his money. No one knows this. But one thing is for certain,